Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, the full spoilers of chapter 81 did actually release, but I definitely do want to point out to you guys, even though we are talking about the spoilers, the actual translations didn't really release, so we have to take stuff with a grain of salt and wait till the actual stuff does come out. But regardless, this chapter right here looks amazing. It looks absolutely impeccable. It starts off with Sarada in the Hokage's office, which is kind of already new from the spoiler images of yesterday. They did kind of add some new stuff in there. In these translations, they pretty much call Sarada a genin. In the anime, there was like a whole arc where Sarada then became a chunin. In my personal opinion, I think that that right there should definitely at least stand the test of time, especially in the manga, just because of the sheer fact that, you know, the manga is supposedly one of the big things that are supposed to happen, and Sarada possibly becoming Hokage is definitely a big thing. But even past that, having such a big dichotomy between the anime and the manga, in my personal opinion, is not really a good thing. There's a time where Sarada literally unlocked her third tomo in the manga. In the anime, during that same fight, she had 2 tomos, so like it's kind of questionable how they're kind of doing this. But I'm hoping when the actual translations come out, it's probably going to say chunin or something like that. And of course, this right here isn't necessarily any shade to the actual person who translated this stuff. It's very difficult translating Japanese to English, which is why I always say we gotta wait for the official translations. But they essentially talk about Boruto. Sarada was essentially saying how she wants Himawari to give Boruto a chance to explain. It seems at this particular point that they're 1000% convinced that Boruto is actually the person who killed Naruto, and of course the omnipotent power has essentially gotten stronger over time, which Sarada actually does explain later on in this chapter. She basically says that at first a lot of people were actually kind of confused, and a lot of people were kind of questioning specifically why they believe what they believe, but after the time skip, everything now seems to be common knowledge and everything seems to be widely accepted. No one's really questioning it. But Sarada asked Shikamaru to actually lift the kill on sight order that Boruto does have on him now, because of course supposedly he did kill the Hokage. Shikamaru himself said that he's not going to lift the order. He says that it's in accordance to the regulations, and also he says that it won't necessarily convince other people to not try to kill Boruto just because of the sheer fact that they think that he did betray the Hidden Leaf Village and kill the Hokage. The only thing that I definitely wish that they actually did do was try to reach out to Boruto. Like, they're not even trying to hold a trial or anything like that. It was just like immediately kill on sight. Like, even if he was innocent, he still has a kill on sight, and technically he is innocent. But after the Shikamaru and Sarada scene, we see Naruto. It looks like they haven't aged at all, and then we get to see the actual first frames of Kawaki. Then we get to the interesting scene with Sarada and Sumire essentially talking about the omnipotence. Now they're talking about it openly, like freely, and not only that, Eida is also following their conversation. It pretty much shows Eida like listening in. But Eida did actually say something very interesting. She says, just like my charm, omnipotence, recently I was finally able to understand more about this ability, which kind of gives me an idea that she possibly even got stronger with her abilities. And this goes directly into the Daemon thing as well, and I'll probably talk about this a lot more in the review. It's not like these two characters are like finished products. These two characters are still getting stronger, just like how Kawaki is still getting stronger, Boruto is still getting stronger, Sarada is still getting stronger, same thing with Himawari. These two characters are also getting stronger, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be just about taijutsu or they got stronger abilities. It could just be the fact that they're understanding their abilities a lot more. If Eida ever finds out a way to actually use this omnipotent ability like on command, if she wants something she could automatically have it, that is extremely broken. And she even goes on to explain a little bit more when Sarada and Sumire pull up on them and pretty much ask them how they could possibly like reverse the whole thing, and pretty much ask them what is the new information that they actually did learn. Well, Eida basically says that the omnipotence is a shinkutsu. I don't even know what that is. Like, it seems like it's probably gonna be something different. Now again, I do have to point this out again because this is not the official translation. If this just say Shinjutsu, I wouldn't be surprised. If this just say Jutsu, I wouldn't be surprised. But because it does say Shinkutsu, we do have to talk about it because it is a very good possibility that it actually does say Shinkutsu when the actual official translations come out. And if that is the case, this right here is pretty much a brand new ability that Eida just laid out. She essentially says that it's an ability that realizes your wish and turns it into reality. This situation was created by Kawaki's wish. So she's basically talking about the situation that they're in as of right now. Now again, if Eida ever masters the Shinkutsu, and she could, whatever she wants, she could just have it happen. That's pretty much like creation of all things that the Sage's Six Paths had. And it's probably even more broken than that. In this particular scene, Sarada and Sumire were essentially pressing Eida and trying to figure out exactly how they could potentially reverse this, if she got some pointers, the new information that they had, if they could possibly put their minds together and figure out how they could potentially make everybody understand that Boruto isn't the person who actually did kill Naruto. They couldn't really come up with anything. One of the most awkward scenes with Sumire, Sarada, and Eida. Eida pretty much questioned Sarada and Sumire about how they weren't actually affected. And I kind of talked about this yesterday, and I said that this right here probably isn't necessarily going to be a big thing for this particular chapter, mainly because I think that there's multiple ways that Sarada can kind of get out of this or kind of give an excuse, and they did just exactly that. Sarada and Sumire pretty much said that they are affected, but they're just showing off. And I don't know. I think eventually Eida and Damon, they're going to realize and they're going to catch on. It's just going to be how they react to it. But I definitely do want to see exactly when they find out. The next scene was with Kawaki and Mitsuki. This scene right here is kind of cool. They kind of mimic some of the scenes that we did actually get to see in the anime, how Kawaki's always weird and creeped out by Mitsuki, and Mitsuki likes to follow Kawaki around sometimes. Back then it was like a hobby for Mitsuki. Now it's like a full-on job. My guy actually does believe that Boruto is his son, which means that Mitsuki now actually follows Kawaki around almost everywhere he goes, similar to how he did with Boruto back in the day. And I think, honestly, as I said in my last video, this right here is definitely a very, very strong weapon for Kawaki. And this scene also, he did talk about his objectives for Boruto. He says that he wants to kill Boruto, but during this meeting, Kawaki was interrupted because other people found claw marks in the Hidden Leaf Village, which is like a precursor to what we're essentially about to get into, the big battle. Before we get to the scene where Cody did actually start investigating the claw marks, we started to see Himawari training with ChoCho. Some of the stuff that we did actually get to see in the spoiler images that were released a bit earlier. It doesn't necessarily show anything like crazy in regards to abilities from Himawari. I really do hope that she starts to get some absolutely hacks abilities extremely soon. But all she really did was kick ChoCho, jump in the air, and then throw some shuriken, and then ChoCho got a hold of her. So it wasn't necessarily too much, but it did show that she wasn't a complete slouch. Himawari also discusses why she doesn't really believe that Boruto is like a completely bad guy. She said first things first, she kind of feels that Naruto is still alive, but also she doesn't believe that Boruto is the person who would actually do something like that. Remind you guys, she's thinking of Kawaki when she does say Boruto. Himawari kind of rationalized it by saying that Kawaki back in the day actually risked his life to save Naruto and Himawari. So him making a complete 180 on the whole situation, it doesn't really make that much sense. And if he did make a 180, it would possibly mean that there was an actual reason behind it. And she even said if there is a reason behind it, then Boruto might still be in trouble. The next frame, things really get interesting in regards to plot. We see Kawaki with his Dojutsu for the first time in chapter 81. My guy has a full Dojutsu. Now, we don't fully know the name of this Dojutsu as of yet. It started off with 4 triangles in Kawaki's eyes, and we believe that 8 is probably the strongest form of this Dojutsu, mainly because Ishiki Otsutsuki had this Dojutsu and he had 8 triangles, and of course his Dojutsu was significantly stronger than Kawaki's Dojutsu. And of course, when Kawaki was actually using the Dojutsu, it started off with 1 triangle, and as it got more and more triangles in his eyes, all the way up to 4, it gotten stronger and stronger. Kawaki has 8. Kawaki already has 8, so like this man is probably like a completely different guy. I don't want to say it's as strong as Ishiki Otsutsuki's eye, man, because we have to assume that Ishiki had that eye for hundreds and hundreds of years. But for my guy to have like a fully formed Dojutsu already, it is kind of insane. But he does erase Code's claws that he did actually get to see. Another thing that was kind of interesting is that he did kind of erase one of the claws that was on the men, and this right here is kind of how things really started to pop off. He erased one of the claws that was on the people that were actually searching for the claws. So that pretty much told Kawaki that other people in the Hidden Leaf Village may also have claw marks on them as well. And a couple panels later, one of the claw grime actually do pop out of one of the characters' neck. After this scene, I know Shikamaru fans are probably going to go wild. You essentially see the Hokageing. He's essentially ordering people around, he's essentially telling people what to do. And of course, this right here being Shikamaru, this right here is why he would be a good choice to possibly be a Hokage, because in times like this, he knows strategy, point blank period. Now here's where we kind of get to see how strong the claw grime are. I mean, like, you never really know in things like this, but you could kind of like understand like, all right, these guys are actually decently strong. So one of the claw grime essentially flicks one of the civilians out of the way, and they essentially bounce off of a building. They don't go through the building, but again, you don't really know exactly if they were using all their power, but regardless, These things are superhuman. But out of nowhere, Kawaki comes in and saves the day. This right here is kind of cool as well. Like seeing Kawaki actually in the Hidden Leaf Village, actually working with the Hidden Leaf Village and actually being, let's say, Boruto Part 2. Like this is actually cool. So he comes in, saves the day, essentially protects a woman that was being attacked by a claw grime. And then afterwards we see Sarada kind of doing the same exact thing. She kind of protects other people as well by attacking one of the claw grimes, complete one shot to the claw grime as well. So both Kawaki and Sarada are able to like one shot claw grime. But I don't know where Code pops out. It looks like he's not really even looking to attack the Hidden Leaf Village. Code essentially says that he was looking for Boruto for over the past 2 years. So it kind of shows us exactly what Code has kind of been doing, and it kind of gives us a rough idea of what Boruto's like been doing. Now of course this right here isn't necessarily solely what they were doing. Code for the past 2 years wasn't only looking for Boruto, and Boruto for the past 2 years wasn't only looking to avoid Code. I'm pretty sure they were doing other things in the meantime, but it kind of gives us a rough idea of specifically some of the things that were on the to-do list in the time skip, and possibly gives us a reason as to why my guy actually does have a scar. So Code essentially gives his rationale about attacking the Hidden Leaf Village. It does make sense. He wants to draw Boruto out, and then Boruto appears out of nowhere. A lot of people are kind of asking how exactly Boruto appeared. It could be through a time-space ninjutsu, it could be through him flying. You never really know, but regardless, I think that this right here is definitely going to like draw a lot of attention, especially like just him not necessarily having the karma seal on. And this right here is kind of what I tweeted out, shout out my Twitter. He kind of reacts to Code without his karma seal activated. I do want to point this out. We have seen Boruto use his karma seal before, even though it's not fully activated. Like he partially unlocks his karma seal. Like hypothetically, if he wants to absorb a jutsu, the karma seal doesn't always have to span across his whole entire face and whole entire body. He can just pop his karma seal up on his hand and then just absorb the chakra like that. So partially activating his karma seal does kind of work, but we don't see a lick of a karma seal right here, and he completely reacts to Code, who tried to swipe him off the top of his head. If base Boruto is reacting to unlimited Code, who is stronger than Jigen, and Jigen is stronger than both peak Naruto and Sasuke, of course no bearing mode Naruto, that's some scary stuff. And of course Kawaki having all 8 triangles of the Dojutsu that he got from Ishiki Otsutsuki, power scaling wise, like this is looking broken. So Boruto pulls up to the Hidden Leaf Village. Shikamaru at this point is going ballistic. Now again, it kind of shows Shikamaru's actual Hokage skills. He's Hokageing out here. He essentially says that every combatant must prioritize Code and his claw marks, and on top of that, just keep an eye on Boruto's movements. So it kind of seems that Shikamaru in his heart doesn't really believe that Boruto's actively trying to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. One of the oldest ideas is essentially not necessarily listening to what people say, but actually seeing what they do. Shikamaru in this situation is not saying like arrest Boruto and make sure he's dead, or like kill on sight Boruto. He's saying keep an eye on Boruto's movements and at the same time find out what he's aiming for. Now I get that, but it's like it kind of gives me faith that my guy Shikamaru doesn't completely hate Boruto. But regardless, at the end of that, we do see the 2 amazing panels. We see Boruto standing up with Sarada. Sarada looks like she's in awe. She probably hasn't really seen Boruto in years. And then we get to see that 3-layer panel with Code, Kawaki, and Boruto. So, and this right here is going to be the last page of the chapter. It does end off on a great cliffhanger. Like, let's be honest, like I can't really wait for chapter 82. They're probably gonna have like a 3-way battle or a 1v1v1, and also there's probably gonna be a bunch of information being thrown around, like what happened to Sasuke, like a bunch of I'm gonna save all that for my review. But let me know what you guys think about these spoilers in the comment section down below. It's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.